Hey, today I'm going to go over an email, most common email that comes in. We're going to call this athlete John Doe, essentially. And they say it's most common in the sense of, we have some really, really good athletes that authentically try real hard. They put a lot of effort and time into it. What ends up happening is they create so much overtraining that they see this very slow detriment in their PST numbers, or they see this, like say, eroding of it, or they put all this work in, and the amount of improvement that they see numerically doesn't seem commensurate to like the work effort, right? Like, oh, I'm doing all this work, and this particular individual, I'm not going to read the whole email again, like I did on Instagram, but here's kind of the gist, right? We have someone that's just turned 19. They're about to turn 20. They're from the Midwest. They went to MEPS 2 weeks before this email. They want to have a ship date. So I'm going to kind of go through this and see like these big errors, okay? I guess I may just read some of it. Hey, like I said, I'm 20 years old. He's from the Midwest. He's about to turn 20. He saw his NSW coordinator 2 days ago, right? His swim was 920, push-ups 81, sit-ups were 62, pull-ups were 15, and his run was a 1014. That's what I'm saying. When I see these numbers again, you're like a 920 swim, 81 push-ups, 62 sit-up, 15 pull-up, and a 1014 run. Without seeing splits, which is really necessary to really break down, because that's the big difficulty of this person. They have 5 to 6 months until they want to go into the military, go into the Navy. This person currently is swimming 5,000 to 6,000 yards per week, 20 miles a week of running, plus 2 additional running track, like sprint days, speed days. The person is lifting 6 days a week, and they're also doing 6 additional sort of calisthenic sessions joined to that weightlifting session, whatever that might be. And noticing he's slowly increasing his distances, his times are getting worse, all these sort of things, okay? So here's the breakdown, kind of again going back to it. He's going to MEPS in 2 weeks. First rule that you're breaking is, it's really like, it's a rule that you're breaking for yourself, not me. The best thing is to get the best possible numbers you can get before you go see a recruiter in MEPS specifically, because as soon as you lock yourself into, hey, I'm gonna go do this, your remaining timeline of preparation, that might be a couple weeks, it might be a couple months if you're in the delayed entry, you lose control of your decision-making power. You are now a government employee. And if they say to keep your contract, you have to come every day, every week, once a month, whatever rules they set for you to be in attendance to these, whatever, you're obligated to it, because now you're a federal employee, okay? So you don't want that until like, hey, I've got my numbers, great, and then they set the timeline for it and go, okay, that's not a problem, because I'm ready, I've got my numbers, and now I'm in this little delayed entry, sort of like limbo that doesn't last long because you have good numbers. You only hang out in that limbo if you don't have good numbers, okay? So again, this person is just about to turn 20, right? So I'm gonna kind of MEPS in 2 weeks. Don't go. Like, wait until you have the numbers. Like, that's the super important part, right? There's no pressure to get in unless you're placing it upon yourself. But then if you go to MEPS, that pressure, in that sense, you're obligated, right? Now that changes the scope of your training, especially if your recruiter is having you do ridiculous stuff like PST once a week or whatever it might be, or this having you show up to their mentor program, they're wasting your time like they usually do, okay? And that's, the swim being 920, what do I see in that? A 920 isn't super efficient. What I'm seeing is a lower body leg issues or an aerobic issue. Why? Because if you look at sit-ups, are only his sit-ups are only 62. That's one sit-up, right? Think about that in a 2-minute scale. Like, that's not very many. Like, so what is that? The sit-up tests lower body strength endurance. It doesn't test ab strength. It doesn't test core strength. Come on, folks. It tests your hip flexor and your iliacus. Those are your hip flexors. There's 2 muscle groups, or 2 muscles. Iliacus, okay? We'll switch the camera around. I guess I can't. There's a right behind me. Iliacus, see that little graph right there? That's iliacus and your psoas. Those are your hip flexors. Now your abs, right? Your sit-ups test the strength endurance of your hip flexors, okay? So what else does the run do? It tests the strength endurance of your lower body limbs, which is part of your hip flexors, which is a redundant test. So we have really weak lower body. It's 62, and his run time is a 10:14, and his pull-ups are only 15. So we see a real gap in strength. We see a serious strength deficit. And because he has a strength deficit, that's caused by his running. He's running so much. His body doesn't have the strength to maintain that ground force contact. And so his feet are spending a ton of time on the ground, which is why and we can tell because his sit-ups are so poor, okay? And so, how again, here's all these questions. The solution is really simple because he's doing weightlifting 6 days a week and then doing calisthenics on that, on top of that. Clearly he's not doing our programs because we wouldn't be even having this conversation about difficulty and plateaus, because that doesn't really happen to our guys, because it's the process and the value that is so good. Not because we're not questioning your will, your hard work. There's so many people that clearly work really freaking hard. It's just been misappropriated, right? There's no guidance. So that's the big thing. It's like, okay, so the way through this then is like, again, going back to it, he's 5,000 to 6,000 meters a week in swimming. A mile in the water is 1,670 meters. You don't swim much in buds. You do your 1 day a week or 1 day a week long ocean swim that's a mile, right? With fins, right? Not super difficult, especially once you're a decent swimmer. But the thing is what we're seeing is if a person is accumulating 6,000 meters a week in swimming, plus adding 20 miles, one would think like, man, like that, you should be doing awesome. Why is his time not getting better? Because he does not have the strength. Simple. And I'm not saying he needs to be a power lifter, right? Running 20 miles a week I don't know what this person's body weight is, but I'm pretty sure that this person's body weight is not 105, 115, 120, 130 pounds. So you're a 170 pound frame, we'll call it. Your average bud student is about 175, right? That much work volume, that much effort, that much distance, that much, you have to heal from it. And that's what we're seeing. Your legs are not strong enough because they're not healing from exercise bout to exercise bout to exercise bout, because the work volume you're placing on your body weight and your physical ability, the work you're placing on yourself, you're not recovering from it. You're not, right? And then on top of it, right, you're adding, for the last year and a half, this person's done jujitsu. So there is not a single human being on the planet that can handle this much volume for this much time and succeed with numbers. Because that's what buds is. Like this person, what they did is they just recreated more work volume than they can adapt to. That's what buds is, right? To a large degree, is there's so much work volume that's like they create so much physical stress. It makes you question your emotional stability, and people will then quit. And it's not always like that in buds, but that's why it's 27 weeks long, and then there's this, it gets more and more difficult, right? Does it really? Well, because when I did my very first run in first phase, I ran it in 28 minutes, and that was in fast enough time to run all the way through. I never once quickened my pace in buds. 28 minutes, plus or minus 15, 20 seconds. Why? Could I run faster? You bet your ass I could have ran faster. But why? Why? Did my hey, Jeff's not running hard, don't let him be a Navy SEAL. That didn't happen. Like, I never failed a run, never got gooned, right? And it wasn't, every single run you've got to do faster. I knew that. So I just made sure I didn't just keep running slower and slower and slower, right? It's this, and the thing is this mentality of you can't do these things, right? You can't do them systematically. You can't do them pure. That's ridiculous, okay? Because we know all the numbers in buds, right? So this individual person right here, the advice and kind of guidance is like, well, first and foremost, you need to be on a good process, a good program. By just like what you're missing is good resistance training that's paired with good aerobic training that's paired with good calisthenics enhancers. Like that's what we're missing. This person is just adding volume, and thinking I'm not getting the time, the distances and the things I need. Let me add more and more volume. And if you think that's crazy, right? We've got another person that's running 65 miles a week. Right? Why? So like the person was running 65 miles a week, but he's now running 65 miles a week. 3 weeks ago, he said he was running 35 to 40. And then ever since that, he doesn't understand why his run times keep getting worse. All of his stats keep getting worse because he was already running too much fucking volume. He thought, hey, this person right here, right? It says right here, I ran between 35 and 40 miles, right? I rock climb, do CrossFit. There's the other problem, okay? But he's coming off of, he goes, I have worked up to 65 miles in a week around a month ago, but typically I ran between 35 and 40 miles, swim 3 to 6 miles, do CrossFit 2 to 3 times. There's your problem. If you're doing CrossFit, you don't want to be good in buds. In the same way as like preparing you for buds in no way prepares you for CrossFit, right? In the way that powerlifting in no way prepares you for buds. In no way does buds prepare you for powerlifting, right? So if you're doing CrossFit, you're not preparing for buds, you're doing CrossFit, okay? Your high intensity interval training that the CrossFit is in a single plane of movement that in no way, shape, or form helps you, okay? So that's the other side. This is the same other person, not doing our programs, doing all this fucking work, just swimming 6 miles a week, rock climbing twice a week, 2 to 3 CrossFit sessions a week, 65 miles of running a week, 4 miles a week, 4 to 6 miles a week of swimming. And like, well, no shit, no one, like you can't heal from it, right? And this person's numbers, he's got an 805 swim, 125 push-ups, 106 sit-ups, 902 mile and a half, and his times keep getting worse and worse and worse. And he can't figure out why his times and numbers keep getting worse as he increases his work volume of running and swimming. Okay, the history is the problem. When I came into Buds, there wasn't a bunch of social media people telling you how to run and swim incorrectly. There was only 1 or 2, okay? And now, every decade's like, back in the day, it was run 15, 20 miles a week, right? Well, the next crop of wannabe paper Navy SEALs that have no combat experience, no real training experience go, well, if the years past it was 15, maybe like, yeah, mine's tougher, let's do 20. And then a couple years later, a new SEAL selling his bullshit programs are gonna be, well, yeah, let's run 30 miles a week. And then the next dipshit, 40 miles a week. And then the next, some asshole gave this person a 65-minute guidance, right? I don't get it. Like it's the solution, guys, is really simple. Step number 1, do not go see a recruiter until you have the numbers you want. If you're not getting the numbers you want, it's because you're not training right? And training right doesn't mean you're not trying hard, right? You probably shouldn't follow someone's program that has absolutely no like, let's take every Navy SEAL that's selling programs. Let's add up everyone's combat deployments and see what we get. I would be willing to bet that mine outnumber in totality every single SEAL that puts out programs for training. I would venture to say that's fact. So maybe, just maybe, you should stop listening to people that culminated their career as a Buds instructor. Maybe we should stop following people that culminated their career as some trade-at hero, okay? We've got to start following people that have a really good process, that has a lot of manageable points when people ask, not just run more of something. And that's why I so much appreciate what Stu does, because his process of doing things is different than mine in part. But it just goes to show with the right direction, the right consistency, and the right mentorship when mistakes are made, and we don't go around stuff, we go right through them. And that's what I appreciate so much about what Stu does. Is I've been blessed with having a lot of education in this space, and I lean on this hard, but I never omit cardiovascular work, because that makes this so much better. It's what your cardiovascular base is what gives you a really great ability to recover and heal and fight off disease. And so we do not omit cardio. Cardio is heart training, not running. Cardio, it's Latin, cardio, heart, cardiac, cardio, it's heart training, right? Elevated heart training isn't relegated to just running unconditionally without bias and swimming. Like, you got to have a process to this, okay? So don't go see a recruiter until you have the numbers. Get in a good process of programming that focuses on your weaknesses first. And weaknesses cannot be improved by just adding volume. If it was just that simple, guys, think, like, honestly, like, I get it. People like, do a lot of miles, and it's hard. Yes, buds can be difficult. But think about this, guys. If the only carrot is to run more, swim more, and do more calisthenics, and that just keeps increasing every year. I keep doing more, keep doing more, keep doing more. But the success rate from all of this bias has never increased the opportunity of selection being success. It's never guaranteed or even improved it. So every year the mileage keeps going up for all these candidates, like from the peripheral social media world. So why is it, with all of this increase in volume, why is there not a higher success rate at selection? Why is there a much lower success rate at selection than there used to be? It's because of the advice that you guys keep taking of this run farther, lift more, all this stuff, right? People want to say that buds now is far more difficult to get through. Why? Because the PST numbers are higher than they used to be, because you have people training properly for it, which drives those numbers to a higher limit. There's consistently higher PST scores now than there used to be because the training is better. But then you have all the guys doing all the same silly calisthenic CrossFit nonsense, or even you do too much powerlifting, too much bodybuilding, too much running, just too much of anything creates a misbalance, okay? And that's what we're trying to avoid. Approaching your weaknesses first allows you to triage the importance of that. And that's what's so important. And then what does that mean? Okay, now I'm triaging my importance. If my run is my most needed thing, that needs to be my point of focus for the majority of my work effort, right? And it's not, you don't run again until you've healed from that run. That's why the runs need to be broken up with rucks. They need to be broken up with swims. They need to be broken up with resistance training. So you find this deep balance, this very deep balance of athleticism, not this shallow one, okay? So find a recruiter, right? After you get your numbers. Go to MEPS after you get your numbers. Because what happens is that the really good training that you do before going in, that's the state of readiness you get when you come out of boot camp and you show up Buds Prep. Your body recovers super fast back to the state in which it went in. And you don't want to go to Buds when the state you come back into is not super efficient. It's highly efficient because you've had these really good PST scores with really good splits, and you have a whole bunch of other numerics that you've tested, and your 5RMs, and like all of your movement patterns within all of your exercises within your programming should be your way through the PST, not necessarily additional ones. Okay, so manage your miles based on a program, not arbitrary distances and time. That's like the huge one. Same with swim. Your swims need to have splits, okay? Your push-ups, right? This person only having 61 push-ups. That's a simple fix. That person, if they just got in a good resistance training program paired up with their aerobic basing, these numbers would go way up. But this person is so overtrained, high will, and that's that. Don't mistake me. Like, this is the type of person that as a coach, I go, hey, if we reorganize this person's scheduling, they're gonna have a really good chance. Because this person put in a lot of work. Like, I don't want you to think that like this person is an idiot. Like, no, like probably maybe taking some bad advice, but he's done the work. And so we want to give this guy the chance. This is the guy that we want to have the chance. It's done both of them, really. This is the guy that we think that these are the type of people that probably had the physical aptitude to do it, but they probably showed up so overtrained and beat up that buds then, that's what it did. It did exactly what it was supposed to be. It found a breaking point, okay? And that's what doing a preparation properly does. You show up really durable. So the 27 weeks of selection, yes, your body breaks down. So I showed up at 200 plus pounds. Post Hell Week, I weighed 173, but I stayed all through buds like 192 to 200 pounds, right? Go up, kind of staying at 225, 210, dropped a bunch of weight from Hell Week, then I came back right up and really super healthy all the way through 992 pounds. So that's my body type. I'm not saying body weight is the thing. I'm saying you should expect a fluctuation based on the nature of the course. But we don't want to put yourself in your own personal Hell Week and buds before you show up, because then it's likely you just won't even get a chance to express the athletic ability that you probably have inside of you, okay? So get on a good programs, follow that, right? After you have gotten the numbers, they'll go see your recruiter. Once you've got that, you're in your wheelhouse, man. Then you'll show up to buds ready, because you showed up initially ready. Because when you show up there, that's where you're trusting for, man. Then you're like, I'm here, let's do this. Let me show this community and this cadre I showed up prepared. That is how you prepare for selection.